Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. This one is going to be blistering fast. This one just annoyed me, which is why I'm doing it. Shout out to Jacqueline Thompson. On my Facebook page, she put out a tweet showing this clip. I'm not surprised by this. Let me check my sound before we move on. And by the way, while I'm checking my sound, if you guys enjoy the content, definitely feel free to share, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. You can always support through Patreon. Yeah, there we are. And again, thank everyone who helps the show. People who send me stuff, people who like the video, people who share the video. All of you are instrumental in making the show what it is. Also, Richard Wolff will be here at 10:30 on Friday. Richard Wolff was one of those people who helped shape my workable point of view. I love the opportunity. I just said it that way. I love the opportunity that he's coming to the show. I was flipping out yesterday about the nuclear deal. And flipping out about Trump getting rid of the nuclear deal, I was flipping out because I understood that this is a stepping stone to get us into a conflict with Iran. In the same way they use these pretexts with Iraq, they're creating a stepping stone for Iran. There's certain people who are in the administration, John Maniac Bolton, Pompeo. These people are hawks. These people are neocons. And these people are lining up Iran. And Trump has just allowed one stone in it to fall through against all international opinion. At the very least, real international opinion, not the hacks in Israel and Saudi Arabia who have vested stake in that particular region of the world. Hillary Clinton tweets out this, and I'm using Hillary Clinton because she's emblematic of the other Democrats. And let's be honest, if she was in that office, regardless of what she did, the other Democrats, they would have went right along with her for whatever reason they would have given. Hillary Clinton tweeted out this: pulling out the Iran nuclear deal is a big mistake. It makes America less safe and less trusted. Iran is now more dangerous. What's plan B? Anyone who thinks bombing is the answer is woefully misinformed. Hillary Clinton taking a position that doesn't involve bombing and killing people. That's great. Now, other Democrats have fallen in line with this. Down the line, oh, this is horrible. How dare you? They're wringing their hands. They're upset. They're bothered by Donald Trump pulling out of this deal. Oh my God, how dare he pull out of this deal? How dare you pull out of this deal? What is he doing to America? And then, one click away is this. Clinton calls for new sanctions on Iran. This was back in 2016, January. Now, you must understand the significance of this. The reason and the way that Trump is pulling out of the deal is because Trump is reinstating sanctions. It's the sanctions. It's not just we have a deal for this, you have a deal for that. The deal is essentially done through we are pulling our sanctions. We're getting rid of our sanctions if you stop doing that particular engagement. Well, if you're going to put back on sanctions, how is that any different than breaking the deal? I don't understand what she's saying. Now, this is Hillary Clinton, so she could lie through her teeth and come up with some kind of fig leaf of saying, we're not really breaking the deal, we're just implementing the sanctions. You could say that, but that would be absurd. Let's take a look at the article, because it gets worse. Because there's another article where Hillary Clinton and the people who are associated with her campaign is having a conversation with the Jerusalem Post. And she gets more involved and more detailed about what Clinton is planning for when she gets in that office with regards to the Iran deal. And I have a hard time seeing that much of a difference between what's taking place between now and what Trump is doing. And the question becomes, what do these Hillbots, what do these Democrats, what do these people whose morality is completely tethered to the party itself, what do these people do if Hillary Clinton was in office and she does the same thing? And would they be howling at the moon in this way, or would they just, Hillary Clinton has her good reasons for doing it? You people are hacks. You people are absolute hacks. This woman, the idea that this woman is putting this out is purely politically motivated in order to attack Trump. And you guys are too stupid to realize that that's what's taking place. Are you shitting me? Trump gets rid of this deal in order to create a pretext with which to attack Iran, or at the very least, to attack them militarily. Israel has been stepping up attacks on Iran, military installations in Syria on Iran. Israel has put out saying, we will topple the Syrian government if we are attacked by Iran. Scared at this point because they're assuming that Iran is going to attack them because they've attacked Iran so much. And Iran has said they will retaliate. All of this because Trump pulled out of the deal. Democrats wringing their hands about Trump pulling out of the deal. Hillary Clinton wringing her hands about them pulling out the deal. When her, if she was president, would be doing something similar. Maybe not overtly pulling out of the deal, but guess what? If you're implementing sanctions, you're pulling out of the deal. Let's take a look at this article. The hypocrisy is stunning. And you have these Democrats. I get annoyed because these people's value system is completely tethered to the party. And the idea that Hillary Clinton was perfectly willing to implement sanctions in no way deters them from going after Donald Trump for doing the same thing. People are fucking hypocrites. Clinton calls for new sanctions on Iran. Hours after the United States dropped sanctions, hours on Iran as part of the nuclear deal, Democratic primary frontrunner Hillary Clinton called for new sanctions on the nation for its ballistic missiles program. Clinton on Saturday praised the Obama administration for securing safe return of 4 U.S. citizens and implementing the Iranian nuclear deal, but warned that all concerns about Iran are not assuaged. She wants complete capitulation. Iran is still violating UN Security Council resolutions with its ballistic missile program, which should be met with new sanctions designed to be firm and resolve. Think about that. They've implemented a plan. The sitting Democratic president implementing a plan. And implementing that plan, the plan and the agreement is to alleviate and get rid of those sanctions. Hillary Clinton is saying that is great, but now we need to implement new sanctions. That breaks the deal. That literally breaks the deal. Whatever way, Orwellian way, she's going to try to worm this and say, well, I mean, we're putting new sanctions. These are not the sanctions that we had before. Nonsense! You're implementing sanctions. You're breaking the deal. Iran, no country in their right mind is going to say, okay, we're implementing a deal. Now you're going to put in new sanctions? Nonsense. And this gets worse. When you delve into what Hillary Clinton was talking about, it's hard to understand how different this is from Trump. This is the same thing. This woman is actually putting out a post when you can look back in 2016 and her repudiating what she's saying right now. The hypocrisy of this is mind-blowing to me. And the Democrats are so fucking weak and feckless that they don't even... If this woman was in office, this is kind of my point. If this woman is in office, do you honestly believe that all of these hillbots, all of these Democrats would be wringing their hands in the way that they were wringing their hands? Hillary Clinton would have put on sanctions. And they would have said, well, you got to put on sanctions because of Iranian stuff. I mean, they're not living up to the deal. You people are hacks. You people are absolute hacks. You are the worst from the standpoint of politics. And you are the exact reason why Trump is in that office. How on earth can you trust something coming out of the mouth of a politician or political hack when their value system is completely tethered to the party? Joy Ann Reid comes out writing all of this racist or all of this homophobic stuff. But it's okay because it's Joy Ann Reid. And so nobody really brings it up. No one really says anything about it. She gives this hollow apology. If there was anybody else, they would have howled. They would have absolutely howled. In this case, Hillary Clinton, oh my God, Donald Trump pulling out of the deal is a horrible thing. 2 years before, we need to be strong and firm with Iran, and we need to implement sanctions immediately. This is the Jerusalem Press. This is people in Hillary Clinton's camp talking to the Jerusalem Press about what Hillary Clinton is going to do in regards to the Iranian deal. Obviously, the deal does allow for some different things in the out years. One Hillary Clinton foreign policy advisor said, searching for the right word. That was something that she thought long and hard about when she was debating on whether or not to support it. Clinton's careful handling of the Iran deal at the outset provided comfort to the Israeli government, which sees in her a leader more comfortable than Obama with the exercise of traditional American power. But her critics worry that she may invest herself in the deal over time, potentially by surrounding herself with advisors already wedded to the agreement. Understand what they're saying right now. They're saying that, look, Israel and elements in Israel like the fact that she was distancing herself from the deal. Meaning, even when the deal was being set, Hillary Clinton was out there screaming for more sanctions. They like that. Oh, we like that. We like that. That tickles us in our nether regions. That she still wanted sanctions after the deal was in place. She was able to distance herself from Obama. What they were concerned about, however, is, yeah, but she may come to support the deal over time. She may support it over time. In which case, that's a problem. Those are the critics. The critics against Hillary Clinton in this case, these hawks, she'll support the deal. She'll support the deal that prevents Iran from getting a nuclear missile. Those are the critics. That's amazing. Let's keep going. But her critics worry that she may invest herself in the deal over time, potentially by surrounding herself with advisors already wedded to the agreement from their time with the Obama administration. On the other hand, Obama administration officials worry that Clinton will put the agreement at risk in her attempt to toughen rhetoric. Even Obama was worried that Clinton was going to kill that deal. Clinton is especially concerned that internal changes in Iran would disrupt the deal, not just the presidential level, but the supreme leader, given that he's 77 years old. We're just going to have to take this year by year because Iran is politics and we don't know what's going to happen in 2017, Sherman said. When I was doing negotiation with Abbas, Agrichi would say to me, how do we know that the next American president will implement? And I'd say, how do we know what the next president will implement? So yes, everyone should take this step by step. Clinton's top aides acknowledge she remains concerned with the nuclear deal's sunset provisions. She does not believe that Iran should be allowed to play well for 8 to 10 years, only for the U.S. to let its guard down. The secretary is looking ahead and looking to ensure the sustainability of the agreement, said a second senior advisor, a Clinton foreign policy advisor. I would say there's probably a change in tone, and we'll see it more broadly that the secretary further invigorate work with Israel and the Gulf in efforts. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, I'm reading this poorly. The secretary is looking ahead and looking to ensure the sustainability of this agreement, said a second senior Clinton foreign policy advisor. I would say there's probably a change in tone, and we'll also see more broadly that the secretary will further invigorate work with Israel and the Gulf in efforts in the region from the IRGC to destabilize the Middle East. I'm sorry, it's not Iran that's destabilizing the Middle East. You guys have it backwards. Clinton supports clean reauthorization of the Iran Sanctions Act by the end of the year, a move that Obama administration considers unnecessary, but one she believes will send a clear message to Iran on how she plans to enforce the agreement. Just so we're clear, let's read that again. Clinton supports clean reauthorization of the Iranian Sanctions Act by the end of the year. She would have did it before Trump. She would have did it before Trump. Now, explain to me. Explain to me. The person who became president of the United States would have implemented sanctions at the end of the year, meaning by 2017. At the end of 2017, sanctions would have been implemented in the Clinton administration, doing what's taking place right now with Iran, essentially pulling out the deal. That's the same person who's saying this. This is why people don't like her. Democrats often ask this question of, she seems perfectly nice. The woman is a liar. She's a political hack. She's a charlatan. She says whatever she needs to say to get from point A to point B. She's untrustworthy and the lot. The American public had it right when they said the woman was a fucking liar and completely untrustworthy. Pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal is a big mistake. It makes America less safe and less trusted. Iran is more dangerous. And yet, 2 years prior, when she was trying to be president, Clinton supports clean reauthorization of the Iranian Sanctions Act by the end of the year. I'm not going to keep this long. The woman is a hack. the Democratic Party are full of hacks. And the idea that they're wringing their hands over this and everything else, political punching ball to hit Trump. If Clinton was in that office, they would have shut up. This is what bothers me about this. They're screaming at the top of their lungs about this, when at the end of the day, all of them are just political actors. Political actors. There's no reality to it. There's no honesty to it. There's no integrity to it at all. They're just political actors. If Clinton was in office, they would have been lemmings and they would have said, well, Clinton said they need to do this, so we need to do this. But now that it's Trump, oh, it's bad and sad and they're wringing their hands. Hillary Clinton wanted to put a missile defense shield in Syria. She would have gotten us into a war far sooner than what Trump has gotten us into. Hillary Clinton apparently was into putting the Sanctions Act in place by the end of the year. Meaning, again, she would have done it before Trump. I think Trump is fucking horrible. I've been consistent from a humanitarian standpoint. You can't necessarily attack me from this thing of, well, you wanted this. But I can damn sure attack Democrats saying that you people are goddamn hacks and to shut the fuck up about all the hand-wringing with Trump if you're not going to be willing to condemn the fact that your Secretary of State, the person who you have running in your stead, was perfectly on board for these sanctions. Or sanctions with Iran. Either way, the sanctions would have broken the deal. It's amazing. Crooked Hillary is right. I figured out why Hillary Clinton has no care for humanity. She's clearly not from Earth. All hail Hillary Clinton. In before her forehead ridges show. Oh, I see. Don't start me on Star Trek, Balthazar. Don't get me onto a Star Trek tangent. I'm trying to be pissed off, so I don't want to get into a Star Trek tangent. Every weekend, Bill Maher always talks as if life will be so much different with Hillary, Simon and Garfunkel. Think about that shit. Think about that. And Bill Maher would have been one of those people saying, well, Hillary Clinton did the right thing by implementing those sanctions. Donald Trump does it. Donald Trump is doing a bad thing implementing those sanctions. You people are hacks. You people are hacks. You're disgusting hacks. It's the reason why the public hates you. It's the reason why the public detests you. It's the reason why the lefties dislike you. It's the reason why the public roundly dislike you. I'm talking about the political establishment. Me, personally, greatly dislike Clinton supporters. Because these are the same people who would like what she just said right there. And at the same token, if Hillary Clinton was in that office and implementing those sanctions, they would also like that tweet. Those tweets are antithetical to one another, and yet those useful idiots will be out there supporting both of those positions, not realizing that those positions clash with one another. I am against him killing the deal, but if I was in that office, I would be for killing the deal. You can't have it both ways. Balthazar, in an interview, she also called for war and bombing Iran. That's a goddamn shame. Balthazar, is more proof that the GOP and Democrats are one party. They are one party. They're two wings of the same party. I keep saying it. Trudy, whataboutism aside, breaking our word as a nation. Yeah, that too. That too. How can you ever really come to any agreement with any other nation? What about North Korea? You guys want North Korea to give up their nuclear weapons. I think that would be insane for North Korea to do, but they want North Korea to give up their weapons. Gaddafi gave up his nuclear weapons, or tried, the program, and they murdered Gaddafi. Sodomized with a machete. Hillary Clinton, ooh, we came, we saw, and they stuck a machete in his ass. Oh, it's so great. It's so great. I'm Hillary Clinton. I'm bloodthirsty. I love it. I love a man getting murdered. Now, her getting in office, we need a missile defense shield in Syria, meaning we need to put weapons. We need to get more involved in that Syrian conflict. We need to change that regime. Doesn't matter the fuck up in Iraq. Doesn't matter the fuck up in Libya. Doesn't matter the fuck up that's taking place in Syria right now. All those people being murdered. We need to get further into that military conflict. I'm Hillary Clinton. I love bloodthirsty. I'm bloodthirsty. I'm completely unempathetic, and I have no moral compass at all. Completely unempathetic. It doesn't bother me one iota when all those people get murdered. I'm going home and eating steak, and I'm going to drink wine, and I'm going to watch TV. That's what I'm going to do. I don't have to deal with the calamity that are caused in those regions of the world by taking those votes or taking these dispositions that will get a lot of people murdered. It's fucking amazing. Absolutely fucking amazing. Balthazar, I know you think she's not human, or you think she's a Klingon. What's her name? What's his name? Alex Jones says she's, what do you call her? Goddamn demon. he's a goddamn demon. Yeah, I'm not going to keep this one long. I'm going to leave it at this. Let's see who's here. Never give up nukes or the United States will splinter your country. Nora Hakeem. That is true, by the way. That is true. Being an objective observer from the standpoint of, assuming for the moment, look, I don't want North Korea to get nukes. I don't want Israel to have nukes. I don't want Iran to have nukes. So don't misunderstand me. But looking at this purely from the standpoint of geopolitical politics and how do I enshrine, if I'm the leader of a country, how do I make sure that I am not invaded by the United States? Clearly, I can't trust their word from deals because they break those agreements. And the last thing I want is for them to have this overwhelming advantage. Part of the reason of having these deals is so the United States and Israel will have the overwhelming advantage in that region of the world. Israel has nuclear missiles. Nobody ever brings it up. Nobody says anything about it. Israel was trying to sell nuclear secrets to South Africa, an apartheid state. Seeing as they themselves are also an apartheid state, I would imagine they had a kinship with that apartheid state. But everybody is against Iran getting them. Like, I'm always amazed by the hypocrisy in this. But nevertheless, I don't want Iran to have them either, if I'm being honest. So, that being said, it will be insanity. Yeah, let me kill this. Hold on. This keeps popping up in my outline. Yeah, it will be insanity to give up your nukes. The reason that these countries are trying to get nukes is not because they want to blow up shit. It's because they want to use those things as a deterrent. That's why. The United States is a maniac. Israel is a maniac. Saudi Arabia is a maniac. One spreads terrorism throughout the world. One goes bombing and droning and give no care for the human lives. Thousands upon thousands of lives in which they extinguish and kill innocent civilians. They're just murdering civilians at that point. Israel murders civilians also, killing and murdering Palestinians and putting those Palestinians in essentially these ghettos. Rogue nations. These are the nations that have made the decision to put pressure and try to attack Iran. If you give up your nukes, you are fucking insane. That's what it boils down to. They just broke an agreement with Iran. Why on earth would you ever make an agreement that would give up your nukes and give up your security as a nation? It would be insane. Actual Baltazar 228. Actual diplomacy must be your safe words. You know, the funny part about that, Baltazar, is my mom and her husband, all of us were having this conversation about 50 Shades of Grey. And, you know, making the point that the movie was so tame. It was like extraordinarily tame. And getting into, my mom was like, yeah, but that book was rough. That book was rough. That book would give you a run for your money. That's what she said. And we're getting into this thing about safe words. So the idea that the safe word is actual democracy is fucking hilarious. Actual diplomacy as a safe word is hilarious. Actual diplomacy, stop. Or better yet, what happened? What happened as a safe word? Then bring it to a stop. I would imagine she has bad ideas of that, bad dreams. It's like, oh my God, it's getting too rough. What happened? What happened? What happened? What took place? How did I lose to reality show hosts? Being duplicitous was part of the reason, Hillary. Being duplicitous. We all need to come forward together on one thing first. End war now. If we can win that, we can move forward fighting neocons running both parties. Yes, we need to end war. Like, that's one of those things that the left and right can agree on. So I agree with you on that. This is one of those triage emergency things. Stop killing and murdering people abroad. And if people are willing to do that, those people need to be marginalized. If they're not barbarians at our gates, stop killing and murdering people abroad. I agree with you. But there's a more fundamental reason why they do it. They don't do it for shits and giggles. And they don't do it willy-nilly. There is a capitalistic impulse that drives this behavior. I mean, yes, there's this thing of geopolitical influence. That is true. But it's not geopolitical influence for no reason. Though there are resources in that region of the world that they want to get their hands on. In northern Syria, that part of Syria that the United States is in, they've been taking their oil. I mean, well, they've been, let's say it this way. That region is rich in oil. They've been bragging in Iraq with all these oil companies now that have gotten into Iraq and it's gotten their hands on the oil and have become these profitable industries. Now that we've smashed the country to bits, now that we've murdered a million people, hooray, we have access to their oil. I suspect that if Syria went down, the same thing would happen to Syria. day after Libya, or right after Libya fell, you have Brits and you have French companies going to that country in order to try to exploit the oil fields. There's a capitalistic push on this. Just like there was a capitalistic push in the British Empire to sell their goods in other places. Britain is producing a bunch of stuff. We need to sell these things to people. We find India, we find all these other markets in which to sell these things to. Going so far as to say you can only buy this stuff from Brits. It's fucking amazing. I mean, the Boston Tea stuff. As a way to try to kind of prevent other nations from honing in on their business. Understand the war thing. I guess what I'm saying is, if you're spending $1 trillion on war, bombs, rockets, missiles, boats, etc., that money is going somewhere. That money is not just vanishing. That money is going into somebody's pocket. You have a wartime economy where that's one of our major industries. If you cut the war budget by $500 billion, that's $500 billion that's not going into somebody's pocket. That's not necessarily going into the economy. Those are bases that are being closed. Those are people who are not buying certain things. There's workers that are going to be laid off. This is a sick and grotesque economy, but it is something that you kind of have to be aware of when you're talking about dismantling this. It's become an industry. It's become an industry. I agree with you. War, we need to take a hard line against war, and we need to unite in order to dismantle these things that allow these things to take place. Left and right, these are things we agree on. The one point I guess that I would make is to understand some of the impetus of this is how we're arranged and how we're organized ourselves. I don't know how to change our organization immediately on the fly. So yeah, I agree with you. We need to unite in the war thing. We definitely need to unite in the war thing. So, all right, I'm going to end it here. Somebody says it's called duopoly. Louis Ghetto, yeah, it's called monopoly. It's called duopoly. I'm not going to go into the whole thing of solidarity of no, because this one is going a little long. But solidarity of no. I'm done with both. It's not just Republicans. It's not just Democrats. It's both. This is one party. They are two wings of the same party. Until you realize this, that for the most part, you're governed in this kind of singular government. Like the mindset of the government is singular in its disposition, with two sides that are just kind of a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. But mostly, for the most part, they're the same party. Until you pull yourself out of that and realize that these parties are the problem, nothing changes. Coming up saying I'm voting for Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton would have been doing the same thing that these useful idiots are running around clucking about now. The problem is both. It's not one or the other. The problem is both. There needs to be a solidarity of no. At some point, people need to say, I'm done. I'm calling this shit a day. Good night. Check, please. I'm out of this process. I will vote for the people who I believe represent my interests, but that's it. I'm done. Beyond that, I'm done. I'm done. Win on your own merits. Fail on your own merits. Look, part of this has to do with what you as an individual believe you are worth. What you as an individual believe the societal standard should be. What are you willing to settle for? Because ultimately what you're willing to settle for is what you're going to get, and maybe even a little less. Because if you're willing to settle for a little less, by definition, you're willing to settle for a little less. You have the richest society on the planet ever. Half of the country is either working in poverty wage or in poverty. A third of the country is in outright poverty. I'm trying to get across to you the level of depravity that's in this country from the standpoint of having these people with massive amounts of means. The idea that one person has $100 billion is obscene. It's fucking obscene. There's no reason. There is no reason a person should have $1 billion if there is one person living on the street. Like, we have an obscene system. The point of money is not necessarily for people to hoard it. The idea of getting people to have access to their resources and everything else, this is a failed system. That's kind of my point. And in an odd way, the incentives of the system drives this policy of war and everything else. I mean, imagine the situation where your senator is getting a bunch of money from people who are war contractors. Those war contractors get contracts from the United States government. The same government awarding those contracts, is getting money from people who are going to benefit from those contracts. This is, fucking scheme. How do you dismantle that? Saying that you're against war doesn't necessarily stop the fact that these people profit off of those wars. That's what I'm getting at. The same thing with pipelines. How do you stop pipelines when people are going to make billions of dollars off those pipelines? How do you stop pollution when you have barges who people find it cheaper from a financial standpoint to take stuff from one place and ship it all the way across the world to somewhere else? When the people who are in that other place can perfectly make those things, whether you're talking about fruits or whether you're talking about underwear. I'm just saying, we have an odd and weird system that creates incentives that go against human life and go against the natural environment. How do you unravel those things? I often say that problems can't necessarily be solved at the source or at the source of expression. Meaning, you have a war. Can you solve that issue of war at the source of expression when you have all these other things that are kind of pushing this war on? Or do you have to deal with the things that are pushing the war on, the incentives that are built into the system in order to propagate that war? I think you have to deal with the incentives. In the short term, though, yeah, you have to deal with the war itself, meaning solidarity against it. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. You can't be neutral in a moving train. And by the way, DC 420 LA. You can't be neutral on a moving train. Howard Zinn. That's a Howard Stern statement. Howard Zinn made this point. He had a book. You can't be neutral on a moving train. His point was this idea of neutrality and objectivity is nonsense. You're seeing somebody get shot and you're seeing somebody get killed, and your response is, well, they shot this guy who had a rock. Or better yet, like the media, they reported the last time, it says, people were shot. What do you mean people were shot? Who shot them? The Israeli military snipers fired rounds and shot people, some in the head, some in the groin, some in the leg. They were shooting and killing people who had the press badge on. That's the truth of the matter. That's the reality of the situation. Now, if you're writing a journal and you're trying to be objective and neutral, you may not necessarily say all that. What you may say is, protesters came, those protesters were shot. Not necessarily giving the full context of all the things surrounding it. You know, this guy had a rock, this guy had a gun. This guy had a rock, this guy had a sniper rifle. Those things aren't equal. Because those things aren't equal, your neutrality, in this case, only serves to support the person with the larger power in this. So you have Israel murdering Palestinians. And it's like, how are you neutral when you're watching power in this case? There's massive power distinction between these two things. And you're saying that you're being neutral. One side is murdering another side. Your neutrality is allowing that side that's murdering the other side to persist in murdering that other side. Who do you represent? How, in this case, when you're seeing this take place, how do you remain neutral when injustice is taking place? That's Howard Zinn's point. The tide of history keeps going. There's no such thing as this kind of purely objective observer. And you, to some degree, you have to make a choice on what do you believe in, what do you represent. And that should inform your lens of the world when you're talking about the world events. How do you remain neutral on a moving train? Life is this train. This train is moving. It's constant. This idea of neutrality is nonsense. It's nonsense. Yeah, Howard Zinn is fucking amazing. All right, guys. I'm going to end this. Look, guys, thank you all for showing up. I know this is a random time at 12. I think I started the show at 11 something. Hillary Clinton is a hack. Democrats are hacks. Democrats that would have blindly followed what Donald Trump is doing right now, if the person who's doing it was Hillary Clinton, are hacks. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. And yeah, Democrats are going to be attacked on this, and they should be attacked on this. Republicans defending Trump are going to attack them on this. They should attack them on this. Your person who you wanted to be president was going to implement the exact same policy. Regardless of how she was going to quote the language, she was going to implement the exact same policy. Deal with that shit. Deal with that. You can call it whataboutism all you want. This woman is out here lying as if she would have done something different, when all the way up within the campaign, she's distancing herself from Obama, and she's telling the Jerusalem press that she's going to implement sanctions at the end of the year, by the end of the year. Fucking amazing. That being said, John Bolton is talking about regime change in 2019. All hands on deck. Both parties, same wings, two wings of the same party. Two wings of the same party. Their policy, their plan. I don't know what else you need to show that both of these things are extraordinarily similar. She might have coded it differently in language. This is kind of what I'm getting at. She might have used humanitarian rhetoric in order to make her point. But the action, how it, in real physical materiality, would have amounted to all intents and purposes the same. Why on earth would Iran stay in that deal if Hillary Clinton was going to implement sanctions? And sanctions that Donald Trump is implementing is essentially the thing that is causing the real Iran to get out the deal. That woman is a hack. Her followers are hacks. All of these people who are backing this and wringing their hands are hacks. The idea that they hate this, that Trump is doing it, but if Hillary Clinton would have done it, they would have shut the fuck up. They're hacks. They're absolute hacks. They have no value system at all. Their value system is completely tethered to the party, which means it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to rant. I'm annoyed by this. I'm annoyed by a few things, if I'm being honest. I'm annoyed by HA's disposition on this. He's a Zionist, so fair enough. This is going to be one of those things we disagree on. And I'm also annoyed. I'm annoyed about what this means, if that makes sense. It's not the pulling out the deal that bothers me. It's what it means. Why did Obama implement this deal in the first place? Part of the reason he implemented the deal is because he wanted to stave off a war. All of those powers knew that. The UK, China, France, all of those countries understood that the reason this deal was being implemented was because they were trying to stop a war. They understood that the United States had made this red line of we don't want you to get nuclear weapons, while simultaneously screaming you're trying to produce nuclear weapons. How do you stop that? You have a Congress, Democrats and Republicans that are perfectly on board if they needed to bomb Iran in this degree. And you have presidents who are perfectly capable of doing it without Congress, seeing as they've been doing all this bombing without Congress anyway. What Obama was trying to do was essentially stop a larger conflict in that region. And to stop, you can call it an arms race if you want, but the conflict. Seeing as the United States said they weren't going to allow them to get nuclear weapons. It's not about the nuclear conflict, or everyone keeps talking about nuclear proliferation. It's not about nuclear proliferation. Israel and the United States have said they're not going to allow Iran to get weapons, meaning they are going to strike before it gets to that point. Even if they think it, even if they are wrong, they are going to strike. The whole point of the deal was to say, okay, we're putting a tamp down on this to try to stop this from taking place. And we're going to get the world to agree to this, and we're going to get the world to abide by this. That was the point. Anybody else who's telling you something otherwise is not telling you the truth. Them telling you that, oh, Israel, the United States is not going to attack Iran, those people are nonsense. The whole point of this deal was to prevent a larger conflict in that region. Iran has already said they were going to start enriching uranium the moment that the other countries pull out the deal. And so now they're in this thing of figuring out how to salvage the deal. How do you salvage the deal? Yeah, I'll leave it at that. This has gone too long already. All right, guys. It's not inside Iran. Yeah. Nor Hakim. Yeah, that's important. They're attacking Iran inside Syria. They're not hitting Iran directly in this case. They're forces that Iran has that are inside Syria. Iran, Russia, and Syria are in alignment with one another. They've gone to attacking sites in Syria. Now, they're killing Iranians. So, yeah, you would imagine at some point Iran would respond. But that's what's taking place. Clinton industrial complex, corporate supremacy. Corporate supremacy. This aggravates me and it worries me. I'll say it that way. But I greatly dislike this woman. This woman needs to go the fuck away. I don't need your tweets. I don't need your hypocritical tweets. And I need even less the Clintonites, the followers, the useful idiots, the lame ducks, the lemmings that essentially, oh, I like this. She's going after Donald Trump getting rid of this deal when she herself was going to put through those sanctions. It's amazing. Bold like a leopard. Jamal Thomas, we need to lead by our values. Tom Perez, we need to lead by our values. God, man, we need to have a show where we have who said this? Who said this? What hack said this? What shallow corporatist husk of a person calling themselves a Democrat or Republican said this? All right, guys. You all have a good evening. I'll see you guys in a few.